Hi all. Today's writing workshop will be useful to write philosophy essays. We will study the following four topics. First, I will present you with an outline of a suggested structure for your essay 1. Then, we will learn what is the thesis statement of a philosophy essay. After that, we will study the definition and examples of an argument in a philosophy essay. Finally, we will examine some popular cases of invalid arguments or fallacies. Here is a suggested outline for your essay 1. You can follow this structure or use another one, as long as you answer the question of the prompt that you chose, and give reasons in support of your perspective. Remember that there are 4 different prompts, but you only have to answer one. If you follow this outline, you will write at least 4 paragraphs. The first one will be your introduction, which contains a thesis statement. Also, in the first paragraph, explain how you're going to defend your thesis. For example, first I will explain that Hobbes and Locke have a similar concept of, then I will show that Hobbes' idea of is different from Locke's understanding of. In your second paragraph, write your first argument. This must be the first difference that you found between Hobbes and Locke or a similarity. Explain this difference and similarity in detail. Imagine that you're writing this essay to explain this philosopher's ideas to someone who is not taking this class. In the third paragraph of your essay, you should write your second argument. This should be a difference between Hobbes and Locke's thought. In the last paragraph, you can conclude reaffirming your thesis, how you prove during your essay that you support your thesis. Now let's study what is the thesis of a philosophy essay. The thesis is the most important element of an essay. All the essay revolves around the thesis. The introduction presents the thesis. The arguments defend or prove the thesis. The conclusion restates the thesis. An adequate thesis is the first step to a good essay. It is very difficult that an essay that states an inappropriate thesis will be a good essay. Now, what is a thesis? It is a controversial opinion expressed in a concise sentence. Its main characteristics are that it is relevant to the prompt that you are answering. It expresses a coherent opinion, not a statement of fact. It is controversial, and it is expressed in a concise sentence. It gives the reader an idea of what to expect from the essay. So what is not a thesis? It is not a statement of fact. It is not an idea of an author studied in class. It is not overly general, and it is not merely obvious. Let's use a silly example to put in practice what we just learned. A prompt may be in the form of a topic, dogs and philosophy, a question, should we talk to our dogs about philosophy? Or a thesis statement, talking to our dogs about philosophy will improve our thinking skills. Do you agree or disagree with this thesis statement? What do you think about this thesis? There are a lot of reasons to philosophize with your dog. Do you think it's a correct thesis statement or an incorrect one? Well, it is very general and it is not a concrete opinion, so it is not a good thesis statement. What do you think about this other thesis statement? The question of the role of dogs in philosophy is an interesting question. Well, the problem is that it is off topic, it has low information of how you're going to defend your ideas, and it is too general. What do you think about this other one? We should respect dogs in the same way we respect human beings. It seems like an adequate thesis, but it definitely does not answer the prompt. It is off topic. What do you think about this one? Talking philosophy with dogs can show us a valuable perspective that we might not otherwise consider. It is a good thesis statement. It answers the prompt, it is concrete, and it states an opinion. It is not a statement of fact. Now let's use the third prompt that you could answer for your essay 1. Compare Hobbes' covenant and Locke's original compact. Explain the similarities or differences between the content, development ends, or consequences of these agreements. Choose and focus on specific similarities or preferably differences, and do not try to describe every single similarity and difference. What do you think about this thesis? According to Hobbes, through a covenant, every individual gives their power and strength to one individual or assembly of people. Likewise, for Locke, through an original compact, an individual agrees with other people to create a government, and they all give up their power to a majority of the community. It seems correct, but it is a statement of fact, not your opinion. It is just restating what these authors say. Also, it is not concise. Now, what do you think about this one? Hobbes' notion of the covenant and Locke's idea of the original compact seem similar, but they have several differences. It is too general and vague. It has low information. You're not stating a concrete opinion. What do you think about this one? In Hobbes' covenant and in Locke's original compact, the people that make this agreement give up their power to the government that they are establishing. But the government in each author is different. It is okay. It answers the prompt, but it could be more specific. Now let's examine this one. In Hobbes' thought, one individual or assembly of people can receive the power and strength of all the people who agreed upon a covenant. In contrast, in Locke's philosophy, it is the majority of the community that receives the power of the individuals that unite to create a community through an original compact. What do you think? It is a good thesis statement. It is controversial and focused. You are already giving your argument from the thesis statement. It is important that you know that your thesis will be judged less on its content and more on the criteria we discussed at the beginning of this workshop. So let's go over these criteria that define a good thesis. It is relevant to a prompt. It expresses a coherent opinion. It is controversial. It is expressed in a concise sentence. It gives the reader an idea of what to expect from the essay. It is not a statement of fact. It is not an idea of an author studied in class. It is not overly general, and it is not merely obvious. In the third part of this workshop, we will study what is an argument in a philosophy essay. An argument is a coherent series of reasons, statements, or facts intended to defend or prove an opinion. It is the answer to the following question: why do you have that opinion? As an example, let's remember an argument expressed in the Leviathan. Hobbes is of the opinion that people cannot live together like bees without a punitive power. The reasons or arguments he gave to support this opinion are the following. First, human beings compete for honor and dignity. We distinguish our private interest from the common good. Since we have reason, we propose reforms and innovations for the organization of society. Bees do not propose reforms or innovations for their society. We use rhetoric and persuasion. When humans are in a safe situation, they like to control the actions of the leaders who govern the commonwealth. The bees do not try to control the actions of their queen bee. Bees are in a natural agreement. Our agreements are all by covenant, which is artificial. So it makes sense that we need a common power to keep us intimidated and to direct our actions to the common good. Now some examples of Locke's second treatise of government. Locke has the opinion that the transgressor of the law of nature must be punished. The reasons or arguments why he thinks that are the following. The offender puts himself outside of the rules of common reason and equity. The offender is a danger to humankind's peace and safety. Another opinion that Locke states is that there is a right to property in the state of nature. The reasoning behind that opinion is that all the things are for the use of human beings and their use implies appropriating them. Therefore, in the state of nature, there must be a way to exercise the right to property over them. These are some connectors you can use to introduce or close an argument. Because. You state your opinion, then you write because, and after that the reason why you think that. For example, the journey was quite quick because the road was clear. Since. You write since, then you give the reason why you think that, and then you state your opinion. Since we have got a few minutes to wait for the train, let's have a cup of coffee. Therefore. You write the reason, and then you write therefore, and after that you state your opinion. We are ethical people, and therefore we do not approve of their activities. You have here a long list of connectors. You can go back to this slide when you're writing your essay, or send me an email, and I will send you this list. Philosophical arguments have a unique characteristic. They involve an explanation of obscure or technical terms. In your essay, you must explain the key terms that you are analyzing. For example, for Hobbes, the state of war consists in. For Locke, freedom means, while license means. In this essay, I use property as an exclusive and individual right a person has over anything, including her own body. Finally, let's study the following common fallacies or invalid arguments: hasty generalization, begging the claim, circular argument, a straw person, and appeal to false authority. Hasty generalization. This is a conclusion based on insufficient or biased evidence. In other words, you're rushing to a conclusion before you have all the relevant facts. For example, even though it is only the first day, I can tell this is going to be a boring course. In this example, the author is basing his evaluation of the entire course on only the first day, which is notoriously boring and full of housekeeping tasks for most courses. To make a fair and reasonable evaluation, the author must attend not one but several classes, and possibly even examine the textbook, talk to a professor, or talk to others who have previously finished the course in order to have sufficient evidence to base a conclusion on. Begging the claim. The conclusion that the writer should prove is validated within the claim. Example: filthy and polluting coal should be banned. Arguing that coal pollutes the earth and thus should be banned will be logical. But the very conclusion that should be proved, that coal causes enough pollution to warrant banning its use, is already assumed in the claim by referring to it as filthy and polluting. This is not a valid way of arguing. Circular argument. This restates the argument rather than actually proving it. For example, Barack Obama is a good communicator because he speaks effectively. In this example, the conclusion that Obama is a good communicator and the evidence used to prove it, he speaks effectively, are basically the same idea. Specific evidence such as using everyday language, breaking down complex problems, or illustrating his points with humorous stories will be needed to prove either half of the sentence. Straw person. This move oversimplifies an opponent's viewpoint and then attacks that hollow argument. For example, people who don't support the proposed state minimum wage increase hate the poor. In this example, the author attributes the worst possible motive to an opponent's position. In reality, however, the opposition probably has more complex and sympathetic arguments to support their point. By not addressing those arguments, the author is not treating the opposition with respect or refuting their position. Appeal to false authority. Using an alleged authority as evidence in your arguments when the authority is not really an expert on the facts relevant to the argument. As the audience, allowing an irrelevant authority to add credibility to the claim being made. For example, my accountant says that within the next 90 days the president will be impeached, so we should take this claim seriously. Unless the accountant has some inside information to the presidency, his expertise in accounting has little to do with the current administration, politics, and constitutional law. This is all for today. I hope this workshop was helpful to write your essay 1. If you have any questions, write me an email, and remember that the deadline of the essay 1 is next Tuesday, February 20 at midnight. The prompt and all the instructions are on Brightspace. Have a good day.